Alrighty, hello. How is it going? Hopefully you're all doing well and having a very good day. Today won't be a super long video, but it is a hobby rant that's been a little while in the making. I've just been watching a video from Morty and Glory that I will post in the description down below, where he talks about hating Games Workshop and how many people on the internet seem to think that he's a bit of a hater nowadays, or a shill some days as well. I want to get into that, as it is a topic that I want to talk about on if hating Games Workshop is simply cool these days. I did do a video a little while ago on if it's deserved or not, and I think we came to the conclusion that it definitely is deserved, but it is rather extreme in the way that the people react to it. The reason why I wanted to do this video is, one, I watched that Morty and Glory video and it got me inspired, and this is a kind of a response to that. But number two is I'm in a very unique position of having met a lot of people who work for Games Workshop and been around them, things like that. And I will tell you now, the entity you think that you really hate is not those people. They may wear the t-shirts, they may work for the company. Even if you go to Warhammer World in Nottingham, right, in Lenton, you can see these people walking around. They'll be taking your ticket stumps to go see the exhibition. They'll be walking around the gaming hall. They'll be working in the store. They'll be working in Bugman sometimes, serving you a pint maybe. These are not the people that deserve your ire at all. These are people who are working for a vast corporation in terms of scale in wargaming that is making decisions most of the time that are antithetical to both the hobby as a whole and the customer base, the fan base who are partaking in it. I try not to be extreme, and I need to say this before I go anywhere else. Mordian brought up a really good point in that I don't think he really touched on it. He sort of skirted around it without really touching on it, but I will. And that is the reactionary nature of the internet in 2025. It is, I will say this, as somebody who's gone through some stuff this year, at different stages of the year, there have been times where being on the internet has been almost too draining to do. Like I have a feeling in my chest of, oh no, I've got to go on the internet to do another video. I've got to go and expose my opinions or talk to people about this hobby again, and I don't have the mental will or the energy to do so. And that is because of its polarizing nature. Nobody is ever happy with you. Either you are... I've watched Mordian's content for a long time, and he's a rare case, right, in a balanced YouTuber. Somebody who will genuinely call it out for what it is. If Games Workshop do something terrible or something, in his opinion, isn't good for the hobby or even themselves, he will call it out. But if he then sees a model that is super cool, he will also call that out as well. So yeah, that's really cool. I really like that. I've tried to follow a similar philosophy on my own channel, right? The problem is that I mainly do hobby nightmares, and so the only time you're going to get my actual opinions is in 40k rants, and those are on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So that's where we are, right? You're going to get my opinions then. Unfortunately, that means that in terms of Games Workshop news, I only really cover them when something really big happens. And over the last year or two, Games Workshop being in the news hasn't been positive. Nearly every single time they're in the news, it's not, hey, record profits. It's not, because those are happening. It's not, hey, look at these cool models that are coming out. It's, look at this other decision that they've made to tank a part of the law. That, look at this another price hike that they've introduced. Look at them keeping their books and their models away from certain countries in the world who are at war, right? Look at them catering their entire business model to the tournament scene that doesn't really care about them and doesn't really give them any money anyway, that kind of a thing. That is where Games Workshop have been for the last few years, and I think it's completely disingenuous to sit here and say that they haven't, okay? I have not signed an NDA from Games Workshop. If I ever do, I'm not going to, but if I ever did, you'd be the first to hear about it. I would come on the channel and say, this has happened. I never would, but, if pigs can fly, hell can freeze over. So, Mordian had this opinion on people who had signed the NDA, and he said, it's their business and they can do what they want, and he's not there to judge them. And I can absolutely respect his opinion there. I try not to judge other people in the Warhammer YouTube space. I really do. And what I will say this: if you've signed the NDA, in my opinion, your opinion of Games Workshop is now worth 0. It's not worth minus, okay? I'm not just going to say you're wrong about everything, but I will listen to literally anybody else but you first. Okay, if you've signed the NDA. If you've signed Games Workshop's NDA, which is an extremely stringent document, it is draconian in the way that it sets out what you can and can't say, what you can and can't do, right? And what consequences can be for breaking that NDA. This isn't an NDA to say, hey, we're giving you access to new stuff, so, please don't talk about it until we're ready for you to talk about it. No. That's what an NDA is actually for. No. Games Workshop's NDA is a gag order. It's a gag order. It's do not say anything negative about our company. Do not bring our company into disrepute. Do not, you must have the opinions that we would like you to have, things like that. That is the kind of NDA that you're signing if you sign the NDA that Games Workshop sends to you. There are content creators out there who have signed this NDA, and it is readily apparent who has done so by just watching their content for 5 minutes. You will know who's done it and who hasn't. I'm not here to tell you how to run your business. I'm not here to say, whatever, but you are giving away your voice is what you're doing. As soon as you give Games Workshop that power over you to say, yeah, we can cut off all of your access in a one fell swoop, that is when you are literally giving up your power and you're giving up your voice. You're giving up your opinions. Your natural opinions. You're no longer an advocate for the consumer. And that's what most people should be when they're talking about Games Workshop models. There were many advocates for the consumers in gaming over years and years and years. And video games in general aren't as expensive as Warhammer, because you can buy one video game for 50, 60 quid and you can play it all month or whatever, then you're done with it, right? You can't do that with Warhammer. You buy one set for 50, 60 pounds, well, you need to buy another set and another set and another set. Nobody needs advocacy more than Warhammer 40,000 players and fans, because the absolute cost of getting into this hobby can be astronomical and really detrimental to the hobby as a whole. The minute you sign away your independence to Games Workshop by signing that NDA, you become a corporate voice. You become part of the background. You're no longer an advocate. You're no longer somebody who can be trusted for their own opinions. I'm not saying you lie, by the way. That's not what I'm saying. Okay, I'm not saying anybody who signed an NDA is being dishonest with you. But what I am saying is, if somebody has signed an NDA, they might honestly think everything Games Workshop does is amazing, so they've signed the NDA because it doesn't matter to them. I think they're amazing, and me signing this NDA doesn't change my opinion on that. Okay, fine, cool. Okay, those guys can exist, absolutely. My point is that as a consumer, those are not the people you should be listening to in terms of getting a fair, balanced opinion, because at the end of the day, that's not what it is. And in terms of hating Games Workshop on the internet, I will say this. Another thing Mordian kind of sidestepped, and I completely get why he did it, right, is the culture war stuff, okay? It is present, it is there, but since I've had a very stressful, month, maybe more, so far, and I've taken a complete step back from that stuff. Completely. I think I've done 1 or 2 videos where I've had to do it because something came out. But even if something happened now, I wouldn't cover it because I'm just exhausted by it. I hate it, I don't want to be involved with the, female space marines should never be here. Oh, this and that. It's exhausting to me. It really is. And I really like the Black Lodge Games philosophy. If you've not seen them, go and watch them. If you like RPGs, it's make your own thing. All right? If you don't like what's there, make it yourself. Do it yourself, which is what I'm doing with Exile Edition, right? I refuse to give any more of my energy to pumping negativity into the world and saying, yeah, female space marines are awful and you think they're good, then you shouldn't be in this hobby. No, man. I don't think that way. I don't have that hatred in me. I just don't. If you want female space marines, if you want that, well, all right, all power to you. Maybe this hobby isn't for me. Maybe I need to go and either play something else or make my own thing and have some fun there, or play earlier editions. There are the beauty of 40k is there are always different versions for you to get involved with. This is why I made that video the other week of 40k doesn't really deserve to be saved, because if if the company itself is showing you so much disdain and not respecting your autonomy and not respecting the things that you love about the setting, they want to change it, then you're not going to change their mind by pissing about it on Reddit. You're not. Or YouTube, for that matter. You're not. Okay? I do it as an outlet. I don't do it to change their mind. They're never going to change their mind. They're never going to listen to me, right? So in the end, I decided to go and make something myself. I decided to go and play earlier editions of 40k. I decided to go and play OPR and have some fun there, right? And I've saved my hobby in doing so. But hating on Games Workshop is seen as the cool thing to do these days. It's something that you do to score points with your friends, or God help you, online with people. Just to say, hey, this release is terrible, this other thing that they're doing is terrible, everything's going terrible. And you can find yourself in a really destructive feedback loop doing this. There are channels out there, I'm not going to name them, but you know what I mean, where every single thumbnail is some sort of owning of the other side, whether it's left or right. If it's the left, it'll be, we're owning the chuds and things like that. And if it's the right, and it'll say, well, woke is this, and finally they're admitting that they're wrong. And it's always a clickbait title. The actual video itself says nothing of any substance whatsoever. It doesn't have any big claims. It has really spurious evidence, and it's mostly just anecdotal, right? At least my videos, I will tell you all the time, it's my opinion, it's an anecdote, right? It's not this thesis that I'm putting together. I'm not making any grand statements of, the whole hobby should just go away or anything like that. No, nothing like that. But you will see it on all of these channels, and all they're doing in the YouTube sphere and the Warhammer sphere is pumping negativity out there. I really respect a podcast mate of mine, Outer Circle, for what he did. When he felt he was going that way in terms of just complaining about something, you know what he did? He stopped uploading. He just stopped uploading. He said, I've got nothing positive to say. And I'm sick of saying negative things. So I've said my bit, and I'm going to back away. And he did. Now, if he came back because he had something else to say about something else, which is very, very good video, by the way, he came out with the other day, on 30k and where it's going. Wasn't toxic, wasn't anything like that. It was just general opinions. Those content creators are few and far between on this platform, because most content creators on this platform are motivated by money. And unfortunately, the one thing I can say absolutely all the time, negativity sells. It absolutely does. Every single video that I do that has a provocative title and sounds like it's going to go after Games Workshop does buco bucks, does really good numbers, right? Some of the best videos I've ever done have been Hobby Nightmares videos or positive videos, just exploring how 40k is cool in different ways. And those videos get maybe a quarter of the views of the negative, negative seeming videos. I don't know what drives that, and it's an ugly practice, and I'm trying to get away from it. I will try to only throw on these videos when I really think something needs to be said about something that's going on with Games Workshop. This is a company. Let me take a quick sip of tea here. All right, this is a company that defined most of our childhoods. Most of our childhoods have been entwined and ingrained with Games Workshop's expressions, Games Workshop's passions. I remember as a kid having a Christmas brochure from Games Workshop. When I was a kid, my mum didn't have that much money because she's bringing up 2 kids on her own, right? And we never went without. She always found a way, right? She'd take on another job, right? She'd allow my grandparents to come in and help sometimes. She'd take on more hours. She always found a way to give us what we needed. But we didn't really have a lot of money for, say, Warhammer. Other kids were getting Warhammer once or twice a month. I was getting it on Christmas and my birthday. That was it, right? That was when I was getting it. So on the run up to Christmas, I think it was year 2000, 2001, maybe, no, year 2000, yeah. No, 2001. Yeah, it was 2001 because Lord of the Rings was coming out. So we had this Christmas brochure. So my mum went into Games Workshop because she knew I was really getting into Warhammer because my friend Andy was into it. And she walked in and looked around, talked to the manager, and obviously she got the spiel of, you're going to buy anything, and she said no, and he gave her a free brochure, and she gave it to me. And it was this white brochure, and it was just stapled together. It was just literally, some paper. You know what I mean? And I looked at that thing cover to cover constantly, like all the way up until the run up to Christmas, all the way through. It was in my school bag every day, like absolutely every day. I'd look through it and look through it and look through it and look through it. This thing, this document, right, catalogue, fell apart. I was reading it that much. It was a flimsy document, but still. Frayed edges, it started to get crinkly, get a few stains on it. And I'd circle the things that I really wanted, and I gave it back to my mum. And that year, I started my Eldar army. I had a Viper, some Guardians, and I think Eldrad. Yeah. And then a few months later on my birthday, I got a Falcon Grav tank, some Dire Avengers, and a few other bits and bobs, which were really, really cool. So that was my start of my Warhammer journey right there. That was my first army. That was the first thing I got into. And I never really looked back. I got Wraith Lords, things like that. I played at the Games Workshop store. I had some really good memories. And this is the company that you're hating on. Remember this, okay? Just remember, they've done lots of crappy things over the years, but most of these decisions are made by people, maybe one person, right, who just makes the wrong decision, and it becomes company policy. Before you know it, away to the races we go, right? A lot of these lawsuits that they're doing with 3D printing and other things like pauldrons and stuff from the past, even Space Marine, trying to market that, right? All of those things are a legal arm of Games Workshop basically firing on all cylinders when it shouldn't be, right? It's like a part of your body that's reacting to a contagion and then refusing to go down afterwards. You know what I mean? It's overreacting. It's like an allergic reaction, that kind of a thing. And again, I fully believe there are bad actors somewhere in there, yes, and I fully believe the culture at Games Workshop in regards to their fans can be a little bit toxic at times. I've been ingrained in it, okay? This is not a company who thinks very highly of some of its customer base, some of the parts of the customer base, which I can honestly kind of get behind, because sometimes they are treated very poorly by us. I'm sorry, like they are, right? I'm talking death threats, I'm talking email campaigns, I'm talking people coming into the stores and making the manager's life a living hell. Some of the hatred they have for the customer base is absolutely warranted. It is. Quite simple. And I always try to remember, before I do any of these videos where I rage and I rant against Games Workshop, that I remember who these people were. And that the vast majority of the people working at Games Workshop are still those people. They're still the people who made that catalogue that went in my school bag in the year 2001 when I was running around school convincing everybody to start Warhammer, right? Same dudes. Same guys. And it's hard for me to shake that feeling. Sometimes I want to summon up some real rage, and it's hard. Number one, because I'm tired. I think there's enough negativity on YouTube right now in terms of the hobby, and I've said my piece on it before. If you don't like what's going on in 40k, go make your own thing, go play an earlier edition, go do something else. Okay? They're not going to change. And you injecting so much hatred onto other people is just fueling negativity, and it's fueling this toxic feedback loop. Nothing is going to change with you harassing people. Nothing is going to change with you hating people who look different to you. Nothing's going to change. All right? Do it yourself. Be the change you want to see in the world. Do it yourself. Build your own thing. Play earlier editions of 40k. Support people who do those things. 3D printing, things like that. Okay? Do not sit in the hot water and complain that it's hot. Step out of the bath. Dry yourself off and run another one that's a little bit colder for you. You know? People will look at me saying that and they'll say, that's just you giving up. No, mate. No. No. I'm not... Giving up would be walking away from the hobby completely, right? That would be giving up. Okay? You saying that, me saying that is giving up, is because you're so ingrained in 40k and Games Workshop, you think they are the hobby. And they're not. On some level, you'll say, no, yeah, on some level you do. On some level, you don't like anything but 40k, right? Modern 40k, 10th edition, right now. And when 11th edition comes out, you'll drop 10th edition like a stone, even if you really liked it. It's the newest, shiniest thing. You want that, and you want that to be your thing. Modern 40k isn't for you. And by the way, let me just say this. Our forebears are greybeards. Go watch the Bardic broadcasts, right? Guys like that. Our greybeards, our old-timers, our guys who were here in the 70s and 80s. Think about how much change they've had to see over the years, right? Did they bitch and whine like this? No. Right? They may have moaned, said, 40k was better in my day, but you know what they did? They just played old school 40k. They just stayed with 3rd edition, or 4th edition, or whatever it was that they were enjoying. They stayed with that. And they'd reminisce about those times. They'd stay with their friends, they'd have fun, and they'd love 40k. I don't have a problem with you not liking modern 40k. I have a problem with the culture war. I think it's divisive, I think it's futile, and I think it's kind of retarded. Right? And the vast majority of its agents and the people on both sides who are perpetuating it have very low IQs. And I refuse to get drawn into it. So whilst hating Games Workshop is cool, seen as cool these days, I will only try to ever give them constructive criticism, even if it comes across as angry and ranty. That's the channel, that's the brand. But I'll always try and say, hey, they did this right, or hey, they did this wrong. It just so happens that recently they've done quite a lot of things that are wrong. But getting involved in the culture war, getting involved in things like that is only going to drive you insane. Please do not set yourself on fire to spite somebody else. There's no point. Okay? Setting fire to your own mental health by letting these people in that are going to tell you that everybody on the other side is your enemy, right? Getting involved with those people invites poison into your soul, and you will set fire to yourself in hopes of spiting Games Workshop, and they're not even going to see you on fire. They don't care. Okay? Alright, so hating Games Workshop may be cool, but do it for the right reasons. Do it constructively. Alright? Don't harass people. Don't go into Games Workshop stores and try and ruin somebody's day. That's not what the hobby's all about, right? It really isn't. What do you think? Am I a bit too soft on this culture wars nonsense? Let me know in the comment section down below. I love you all long time. I'll be back tomorrow with some more Hobby Nightmares. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll speak to you very, very soon. Alright? Have a good one. Bye now.